Hey, this is Tony with Salt Strong, and in this video we're going to be talking about the different shapes and styles of popping corks. As you can see here, I have the three standard shapes which you're going to find mainly when you are looking for them, and that is going to be a cigar style shaped popping cork. Then you have the popping cork that has a cupped top to it. Then you have these egg or oval style popping corks. Now each different shape really has its own application, and I want to talk about that as we go through these. So first let's talk about the narrow cigar style popping cork. These are going to be more ideal in clean water and also if you're fishing in windy conditions, because when you are fishing in windy conditions, the wind is going to catch these bigger corks. It's going to be harder to cast them. When you're using a more narrow cork such as the cigar style, it's going to be more aerodynamic and it will cast much easier and further than these fatter corks. Also, the cigar style cork is not going to create as much commotion in the water, so more ideal for clean water conditions or clear water, because fish can be very spooky and skittish in clean water. And if there's too much noise and commotion, that can actually spook the fish. So if you're fishing in windy conditions and or fishing in clean water, I would definitely go with the narrow cigar style cork. So next up we have the cupped style cork. As you can see, the face of this cork is cupped, and that's going to create sort of a popping and splashing action in the water, and that can help draw fish in murky water. So as I mentioned with this one, this would be more of a cleaner, clear water application with the cigar style. And then this cupped face would be better in murky water conditions just because of that extra noise and splash. In murky water conditions, fish are relying heavily on that noise and splash to get their attention. So again, this would be more ideal in dirty water. Also, as you notice, the shape of the popping or cup style cork is that it's aerodynamic. So if you are fishing in windy conditions in murky water, I would definitely go with the cupped cork because of the shape. As you notice, fatter on the top end, more narrow on the bottom end, which is the direction it would be going when you do cast it out. So murky water, windy conditions, definitely go with the cup style cork. Now lastly, we have the egg-shaped or oval-shaped corks. These are going to be your most universal type of corks because they are sort of an in-between the cigar and also the cupped face corks. They do create more splash than the cigar style, but not as much splash as the cup style. And also they're pretty fat, so they're not going to cast as well in the wind, so you really have to mess around with that and see which one you would want to go with. But if I am choosing between the cigar style and the egg style, it's going to be more dependent upon the size of the bait or the lure I'm using, because these egg-shaped ones are fatter, so they're going to be more buoyant than the cigar style. So if you're using a heavier bait or a heavier lure, definitely go with the cork that has a larger surface area, because it's going to be more buoyant as opposed to the cigar style. So we talked about the different shapes of the corks. Now let's go ahead and talk about some other considerations when choosing these popping corks. Now some corks will come weighted and some will come unweighted. The weighted versions are much better for casting. Also, when you cast these out and they land in the water, they will automatically sit upright because of that weight on the bottom. Now as far as the unweighted versions, they're not going to cast as effectively as the weighted versions. And also, the unweighted version is actually a better visual aid as far as how long it takes your lure to settle down on the bottom. Because like I said, with these weighted versions, they're going to automatically sit upright as soon as they hit the water. And you really had no idea when your lure actually settles down to the bottom. When you have an unweighted version, it's going to basically sit on its side, and as your lure starts to sink or your bait starts to sink, that cork is going to start to straighten out, and then once your bait hits the bottom, it's going to be sitting upright. And that is going to be a good visual aid as to when you should start retrieving again and when your bait has settled down to the bottom. Another thing you're going to notice about these corks is that some of them you can actually clip onto your line, and that is going to make it much easier to use because you can quickly adjust the depth or how much leader you have hanging off the bottom, just because you can easily either slide it up with the cork that has a slit in it. You could slide it up and down your line, or you can use these that have the clips on either end. You can just quickly unclip it, slide it up and down your line to accommodate for the depth, as opposed to this style, which you actually have to tie your leader to one side and then your main line to the other side, and it can just be a hassle if you want to quickly take the cork off or slide it up and down your line to adjust depth. Now, another thing with this style cork here that has the metal rod and the beads on it, this is going to be the loudest out of all of them. As you can see, it makes a lot of noise, that clicking and clacking noise. These are going to be more suited for very dirty water, or perhaps you may be fishing in low light conditions really early in the morning or late at night. This louder style of popping cork is going to be much more suited for that. However, you can get some of these corks with rattles inside, which can definitely help with noise. So if fish are being a little bit too skittish with the very loud noise of this style cork, you can actually bump down to a bare cork that has some rattles inside. So that will wrap up this video on the different shapes and styles of popping corks. Hopefully this can help you out in determining which ones you want to use when you are out there on the water. Now, we do have quite a few other videos on popping corks as far as rigging and some other tips. So if you're interested in that, just go to saltstrong.com, do a quick search for popping corks, and you will see them all show up there. So if you have any questions or comments, or perhaps some additional tips you would like to share on this topic, definitely leave those down below in the comment section. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.